Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have with us John Duddy, who's the President of Strategic Tax and Insurance Services. John, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, you're welcome. And I'd like to just ask, give us a little bit of your background. I know you've got many years in the industry. What led you to think at some point in your past that you would like to start a firm working with people on their taxes and their financial plans?
Well, I was brought up to help people, and there's an old expression, I'm an Eagle Scout, which means I have to help little old ladies across the street, even if they don't want to go.
Yeah.
But I just like helping people, and when I could get into the financial, I have a business degree with honors from University of Mass Amherst with honors, and essentially I found out that a lot of people didn't understand finance, they didn't understand their investments, they didn't know what to do with Social Security and choosing the right thing, and that they needed help. And I just feel really good about helping people. And my claim to fame is I've never had a formal complaint from any client or regulatory agency, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
So I really like helping people, and I really, if I ever lose a client, they have. By the way, I've lost 2 clients unfortunately, they passed away. So people stay with me because they like me, because I do a great job, and I really enjoy what I do.
You know, that's a really good approach, because when you put someone else's needs before your own, then
Yep.
you tend to always win, and I think way back in the day, if you remember the motivational speaker Zig Ziglar, he was known for saying, if you help enough people get what they want in life, you'll end up getting what you want. Well, that's like the golden rule, and treat people kindly. And I would suspect that when you're working with people with their numbers and money, whether it's taxes or financial plans, that just gets to be very, not only complicated, but hard for them to understand, and they need that trusted source to come to know that you've got their best interest in heart. So that's just a wonderful way to approach working with your clients.
Well, it's an old expression my parents had, which I abide by. It says, it's nice to be important, much more important to be nice.
Oh, I like that. I've actually never heard that. I'm a big quote guy. I've got a whole file saved with great quotes and who said them, and that's a good one. I'll have to remember that. It's kind of like the one, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
like that one too.
Well, let's talk about some of the strategies or ideas that you advise your clients on related to planning for retirement, because as we know, it comes up quicker than we expect, and you should probably start planning a lot sooner than what people think. But when you start thinking about retirement, one of the main points that people think of is Social Security. So let's talk a little bit about some of the key points that people need to keep in mind. How do you advise your clients on how to maximize some of their Social Security decisions?
Well, Social Security would appear to be a very simple thing to resolve. So a lot of people call up, they call up the Social Security, and what they don't realize is that Social Security, is really restricted as to what they can say, but they don't do the planning. They don't. All they can do is say, hey, give me a date you want to take this retirement, be it when you first can or later to get more money. But they really can't advise anybody. So you really need somebody who's been around. I've actually been in business since 48 years. I've been in business.
Wow.
And I'm only 35 and have been many times. But people need someone that they can trust. The expression is that if you're going to help somebody, you got to do twice as much listening as talking. And I've always abided by that rule. So I think that's really what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, you make a good point, because a lot of people think, well, I realize that Social Security is not just let me check this box and say started on this date. There's a lot more that goes into that. So I'm just going to call up or go to SSA.gov. I'm sure they've got everything, but your point is really valid that they can only tell you, like the old show Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am. They can just tell you the facts, but they don't know your situation. They won't be able to advise you on all of the tax or financial ramifications. So they're just telling you the black and the white. So that's where it really benefits someone to work with someone like yourself, where you've got the years of experience. So I think that really is something to keep in mind. They're a good resource, good website, but
some of the things that we look into, and that's what makes it so complicated. Helping people choose the quote best end of quote solution for your Social Security, when you should take it, and all this kind of stuff is complicated. So, I mean, some of the things you have to consider are assets, income, your health status, marital status, employment status, and we could go on and on and on. So we really have to interview people and really find out a lot about them, because we need to really do a professional job that they deserve.
Yeah. And you mentioned about listening so much and interviewing. Those are two key things that pop into my mind with what you just said. And I remember talking with someone once where they said, this person came to me after already talking with someone else in their industry. And they told me what this person was telling me I should do this. And after talking to them, I discovered, and fill in the blank with whatever he discovered, and all of a sudden that made all the difference in the world. This other person missed it. And so to your point, if you're able to listen well and listen through the lens of what if, and what if they did this, and would this benefit them, now you're bringing the full picture together. And I think that really is a big aha for most people. You're not just pushing people through going next, and here's your financial plan next. So being able to work with someone that has experience, but mostly has that ability to listen and apply is huge. So when you think about Social Security, I think a lot of people realize you can claim or sign up for Social Security earlier than most. Yep. What are some of the pros and cons of looking at claiming early?
Well, really, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on, well, first of all, if you're going to claim early but you really don't need the money, you're going to pay taxes unnecessarily.
Okay.
So we always ask people to say, look, if you need the money, if you can wait, you're going to make a lot more money. But if you claim now and you don't need the money, you irrevocably minimize what you can actually get for an income. For example, people that were born before January 2nd of 1954 can if they wait till 66, which is their particular full retirement, they get 100% of their benefit. If, however, they claimed it at 62, which is the minimum time that you can do it, they lose 25% of the money they're going to get. They could have gotten. 25% is deducted that they'll never see, because it's irrevocable. Once you make that decision and sign on the dotted line, as they say, you can't change your mind later. And that's a terrible thing.
Well, that's a big point to remember. People, I think these days people think, online, and let me send a text, or let me submit this form, and I'm going to sign up for this and I'll change it, or, I'm going to sign up for Amazon Prime, but next month I'm going to cancel it. Well, with Social Security, that word irrevocable is pretty important to keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, if they waited to 66 and if that particular, born before 1954, January 2nd, and they waited till full retirement of 66, they get 100%. Now, if they're able, they don't need the money. In fact, if they took the money, it would raise their taxes, and they don't need that. If they could wait to 70 and their health is permitting, and all these other things we talked about, their income and their assets and all that stuff lines up and works, they could get, would you believe, 132% benefit.
Wow.
Okay. At age 70, they could get 132% of the benefit, and that will go until they die. And there's some planning too with spouses, which I won't get into now because that gets really complicated. But when people come to see us, we look at singles, we look at spouses, we look at combinations. There's a lot to this, much more than people know. And we take our time to ask a lot of questions and really give it some thought. And we don't make instant decisions. Don't you hate people that do?
Yeah. Well, because you know you didn't get the full story. You know that you just, in fact, it kind of makes me think of the people that you're talking to in conversation, and you can just tell that they're waiting for a break in the conversation just to interject their thought. And you know they're not paying attention to you. Well, if you're working with someone that just isn't really paying attention to all those factors you're talking about, maybe it's not going to, give you the best advice. And you bring up something really important. I'm curious about the 132% of benefits. Can you go into a little bit more detail on how do you get more than 100%? Because makes me think about, give 110%. Well, you can only give 100%. So how do you get 132% of benefits?
Well, what you got to do is you have to claim it at a later age. So remember, you get full benefit when you're 66 or 62 and 2 months, depending on your age. But if you wait till 70 and you don't need the money and all the other ducks line up, when you claim at a later time, that's when you can get 132% of the benefit. Okay. Now, let's say you claim it at a younger age. Let's say you lose the 25%. We know that's irrevocably, that's your decision. You can't change it. But you lose any of the growth possibility of getting that. You can never have that 132% or even the full benefit of 100%. So, I mean, if the ducks line up and the position is good for you and your spouse, sometimes one spouse will take it at this point, one spouse will talk later, and that's something we dig into and ask a lot of questions about and find out, how do you feel about those? Does that make sense? Remember, you can't change your mind. Let's make sure that this suit fits you like a good suit.
Well, and you think about like what you're saying here, if the ducks line up and if you don't need it and that, let's delay your claiming. Well, is that a good idea? We don't know because everybody is different. Everyone has a different scenario. But I'm thinking at it, listening to you, because I'm not in your business. I'm just listening to you give this instruction, and it makes me wonder, do you ever hear clients say to you, well, John, it makes sense to wait, and I get that, but what if Social Security goes away in those years I'm waiting, and now I get nothing? What do you say to those people?
Well, their Social Security has a safeguards, I guess is the word that comes to mind, where the money for Social Security is secure. They have, by law, they must make sure that money's there for people when it's time for them to collect. Unlike some other programs where, we ran out of money, we can't give it to you anymore. Social Security is set up and protected.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I would think so. It's been around since the dawn of age, I'm sure. So I think that would be a question, but I think when you can show those safeguards and safety nets, I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, we can definitely prove that in print.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Hey, you were mentioning about just so many choices, and I think that the people today, the population today, we're so programmed to just go to online, go Google something,
right.
and my phone broke, so how do I fix this? And you find it, and it's fixed. Yay, Google, help me out. Well, I know that people can Google these questions like, should I take Social Security now? Should I? Whatever the case is. And I know that you've talked about the fact that, Social Security Administration even has some good information. What do you say to people that would come to you and they almost have already pre-prescribed their claiming decision and say, oh, well, John, no, you can give me your opinion, but what I saw is this article, and what I think is, because they're getting a lot of conflicting information online. Have you ever seen that before?
Absolutely. I made believe I went on Google and I started Googling things just to see what's up there.
Yeah.
And what they do is they give you some of the information, but not all of the information. What would you rather have? All of the information specific to your particular situation, which Google doesn't speak about. I mean, this is a complicated. It's only your hard-earned money that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But that's not really important, is it? Of course it is.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, we have to look at everything, and you can Google it to death, but it scares me. You get half of the answer is worse than no answer.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
And I think that we can pick an example in many industries, and I don't know why this came to mind while you were mentioning that, but I don't know which end of a wrench is up, and I couldn't fix my car, but I know that if I tried Googling how to fix some issue in my engine of my car, there's probably some article or probably some video that I could find, but there's going to be some nuance that a trained certified mechanic would know, like, well, you don't want to tighten this bolt too much because you want to hand tighten this. You don't want to use a wrench, an automated wrench on this because, and I think that's the problem with relying on, wholeheartedly or blind faith on what you find online. It's great for guidance, but then when you come to a professional to say, okay, I've heard this and I've heard that and I read this, but here's my situation. Let's see where this applies. And now that's where someone that specializes in Social Security and retirement really can help guide you and go, here's what that article really meant. And now it comes to life. Yeah.
Well said. That I couldn't have said it better.
Right. Well, I think it's really interesting that people tend to, if they take a couple steps back and they go, well, I guess logically it would be this. And you're like, yes, you're exactly right. So let's wrap up, John, with just what are some final thoughts that you have for someone that, thinking about, well, retirement's going to be coming up. At what age do you recommend someone should start talking with a professional like yourself in making those pre-retirement decisions regarding Social Security?
I would say early 60s.
Okay.
Because, a lot of people, the way it's, a lot of people either get let go or they have health issues. I mean, there's all kinds of factors that come in mind here. So I would think when you turn 60, you ought to really start being educated by a professional like myself and really look at the possible options and look at your situation. And so you'll be ready and well educated and informed, and your situation will likely change. As we get older, things change. So, but having, kind of the master thing in place, or strategy, if you will, then, your health is not as good as it was. Well, hey, okay, well, maybe you shouldn't wait till 70. Maybe you should take it, at full retirement, or maybe even earlier. But starting early in the game can only help you.
Yes, exactly. And then you have a plan moving forward, and then you can make those financial decisions when you're not under pressure. It's the worst thing in the world is to know you have to make a certain decision in a deadline, and it's an important decision, and you worry that you made the right one. So having that calm approach and having a plan to move forward, that makes total sense. So
and
what's
unfortunately, that's what many people do. It's the hurry up and wait or strategy. They're reacting, not planning.
Yes. Well, if anyone listening would like to reach out, connect with you, and learn how to plan without reacting, and I love your phrase on your website, helping people retire on their own terms since 1975. What's the best way that someone could reach out and connect with you, John?
Well, they can reach out a couple of different ways. Some people like to use my website, which is strategicduddy.com, and I'm affiliated with Fusion Capital Management, and I do have that website, and I think people say, I really like your website, so I encourage people to go on it. Alternatively, some people just like to dial a number, so you can reach me at 781-279 781-279-8444. That's 781-279-8444. By the way, you can tell I was in the Navy. I repeat everything.
That's excellent. Well, I think that's so wonderful, John. Thank you so much for coming on today. It was a pleasure getting to know you.
Well, it was my pleasure, and you were extremely helpful in your observations, and I think that added to our conversation. And thanks a lot. We really appreciate it, and I wish you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.